SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I am here with my man, E. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm getting through another weekend of no SimWorld basketball, the last one of a long drought. It is coming. March is here. SimWorld Hoops is here, Bob. I'm excited. And you know I'm always happy to be with you.
Absolutely. Always happy to be with you, too. We got 3 days until the season starts. But before that, this is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E. I'm the Fat Man. And this is where we just talk about whatever we want. And obviously today, with us being just 3 days away from the start of the season, we're going to talk about opening day games. How do you feel about that, Eric?
Well, I'm excited because I'm going to be calling two of the opening day games. SimWorld TV is going to be live at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and then again at 9 o'clock on Wednesday night. Bad Boys versus Reigning Treys and Bay Area versus Best Coast. So the two games which are featured, the two games I'm going to be calling, and again, remember to tune in live to watch these. A lot of other good matchups that night, though. I got to say, when Beast of the East versus Gotham 5 doesn't make the live TV slot, you got some good opening night action.
Oh, yeah. Well, what do you think about the Bad Boys and Reigning Treys game? That's game one on the live games. So what do you think?
It is. So I think that's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a really interesting contrast in styles, I think. Bad Boys basketball, everybody knows that the lead of that team is going to be Lorenzo Phenom.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how he's used down low by Coach Munch Williams. There are a few other guys with decent size on the Bad Boys team. Malcolm Chamberlain's come in. He's 6'8", almost 250. Camden Gilroy, some people are tabbing him to be maybe the starting center for this Bad Boys team at 6'9", 235. I think Coach Williams, like he did last year, is going to want to play Phenom, a little bit outside of the outside of the paint area, which I think is the best way to use him. He can utilize his spin moves and his quickness as well as his height out there.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to be intrigued by that. Now, other side of the coin, Reigning Treys, sort of like the Reigning Trees this year. This team is huge. All the way from their 6'6" point guard, Cam Astro, expected to start, all the way through to Jason Crosser, who's over 7 foot now. That's probably your point and your post guy right there, the two of them. And that's going to be a challenge for most teams to deal with this year. Certainly Bad Boys as well. Samuel Bogus, we've all been watching him in preseason. He's impressed me. I really like him. But he's given up 5 inches to Cam Astro. That's going to be a tough assignment. So that's really what I'm interested to see there. And then, look, I will also say all the offseason drama with Bad Boys, Lorenzo Phenom and Owen Pride, are they going to be playing together out there? How are they going to work together? I'll be interested to see how that goes too. And with Reigning Treys, let's not forget, folks, this is the Seattle Stars of last season. I'm hoping for a big turnaround here. I think under new coach Lightly, they are going to turn it around, but this team was like 4-24 last year or something like that, folks. So there's a culture change needed, and I'm interested to see what that looks like come March 1st too. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, and I think that Coach Lightly is going to come in there and do. I don't think it's hard to improve upon the coaching that they had last season, but I think he is.
Maybe so.
They had 2 really great players, and those 2 players really stood out last year. Unfortunately, they're not there anymore. But he got some recruiting. He's got some good players. Jason Crosser at 7'1". There's not going to be very many players bigger than him. I think there's only one player that is bigger than him at this point, and that is Richard Hennessy, 7'1", 275.
Yes. Cuban, correct?
Yeah. I think that's the only player that really matches him. Yeah, across the board, Reigning Treys generally, at least at the 1, 2, and 3, they definitely outsize Bad Boys basketball, and that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to use that size because down low, Lorenzo Phenom, he's one of the best players in all SimWorld. Jason Crosser was a big disappointment last year. So I really thought that he would be top 10, top 15, but he wasn't. Maybe adding a few inches to be at 7'1" now. Reigning Treys.
He has some skills, though. He has some really elite big man skills in terms of like his passing, his court vision. I mean, he's got the ability. He just hasn't put it together.
Yeah, and that's the thing is he has the skills that we should be talking about Jason Crosser the way that we talk about Lorenzo Phenom. We'll see if he can put it together with a new coach this year. I'll be real excited to see how him, Jaffet Towns, how they can put it together, because that was a big pickup for them early on.
Absolutely.
And I know
Jaffet Towns, I am excited to see him play in live action. I really do think he's going to be a star in this league.
Yeah, I think the most interesting matchup to me is going to be Jaffet Towns versus Elijah Alexander III heading into this game. And that's more because I just interesting stories about them. I know Elijah, he was raised by his grandparents. I don't know if a lot of people know that he was raised by his grandparents. They really pushed him in basketball and everything. His grandmother unfortunately passed away recently, but she never let, one thing I'll say is she never let him slack when it came to probably anything really. But I'm really excited to see those two. I think that could be the matchup that is going to decide the game. Because as much as we talk about Lorenzo Phenom, and as much as I love Lorenzo Phenom, I don't think he still hasn't really put it together. And I think that could also be because of the coaching. Coach Munch Williams is there for his second year and for a second season. And I don't think he really knows still how to use Phenom. I'd like to see Phenom getting to the basket more. He is 6'10". You need to use the size. But Phenom loves his turnaround jumper, and I don't think anybody's going to ever stop him from doing that.
Yep, best signature move in all of SimWorld.
Oh, yeah. Well, you said you're calling that second game. Second game, we got what? Bay Area Breakers versus Best Coast. Is that right?
I know, it's so sad for you, Bob. We have a classic California matchup, but your favorite team isn't involved. I'm sorry.
I know. It's man, it's heartbreaking, isn't it?
It must be for you.
Yeah, it is.
Bay Area versus Best Coast, and I'm excited to be calling this one too because, as I've been saying this for a long while now, people probably heard me say it before. California is like the beating heart of basketball of SimWorld Hoops this year. The Best Coast, Showtime, Bay Area matchups are going to be just wars, and we get one right off the bat. Who do you like here? I know this is a great time to ask you, Bob, because I know you're not biased. If a Showtime was involved, the answer would be mailed in. But between these two teams, what do you see on the opening night matchup?
I mean, I just think that there is a big talent gap overall. I see
In whose favor?
Bay Area Breakers. It's one of those things where if you look at the two teams on paper, yes, Best Coast Ballerz has Lacerius Outlaw. They have Mikey Williams. Outside of that, Lene Newman, he was okay last year. He was another one of those players that I felt like could have been a little bit better. But outside of Outlaw and Williams, there just doesn't seem to be, there's a lot of question marks, we'll say that. And I think the hardest thing is, although it was just the preseason, it is all these guys' first times playing together with Bay Area Breakers. They still won the majority of the tournaments that they were in. They won 5. Again, Royce Anderson was in 6 preseason championship games. I just think from top to bottom, the only hole that I see for Bay Area Breakers is that 10th spot. that 10th spot on their roster. But hey, I think we said it last week. Every team needs their hype man, and I think that's Blake Gillenwater. But it just from top to bottom, the talent and their bigs compared to some of the other teams that we're going to talk about, they're huge still, but they're not the biggest guys out there. I mean, their starting center. Their starting center 6'10", which is big. He's big. But again, we just talked about 7'1" Jason Crosser. So when you start comparing those little, but still 6'10", huge. I think just size-wise, Bay Area Breakers and athleticism, the size, it's not, these guys aren't just big, they're athletic too. And if you look, I mean, you got a 6'10" guy in Trey Hyman. You got 2 6'9" guys in Lawrence Shields and Joey Voorhees. Joey Voorhees isn't starting. And if you watch any of his scrimmage games, I mean, the guy's a powerful monster. And at 246, he's going to push some people around. I just think from top to bottom, overall size-wise too, I just think Bay Area Breakers blows Best Coast Ballerz out of the water.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a talented Bay Area lineup. There's no doubt about that. And the two guys you were even just talking about, Lawrence Shields, had put up nice stats, had an accomplished year last year, and
Yeah.
Joey Voorhees, yes, at 6'9" and almost 250, is fairly beastly down low. I'm not certain either one of those guys are going to start. Coach Dre Pope may put Xavier Pope in at effectively the number 4 spot, even though he's only 6'6", because he's so talented. I mean, you could be looking. You're looking at a Trey Hyman, Xavier Pope front court with a backcourt of what? Dime Hardaway, Caden Shipp, and
Royce Anderson.
Yep. I mean, that's pretty ferocious. I would agree. I'm personally high on Best Coast. I don't predict they're going to win opening night. I do think you're right that Bay Area is just going to have too much for them. But outside of the kind of core Lacerius Outlaw, Mikey Williams, would note too, Evangelos Mullins. He's a little bit shorter than Jerry Voorhees. He's about 6'7", 230. He's kind of a mini Voorhees. He's just a bull in a china shop down there. I'm expecting big things from Evangelos Mullins. And should also mention June Johnson. A Best Coast signing for Coach Aaron Murray there. Didn't get a ton of press hype, but 6'4" slasher. I think he's going to jump right into the starting lineup and be competitive. Best Coast is going to have some really good nights this year. I'm afraid that you are probably right that Wednesday night isn't going to be one of them.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting matchups again for this one, I think Dime Hardaway against Mikey Williams. You can see Mikey Williams is one of the best players in the country. Dime Hardaway, I don't think he's probably played as much as a lot of the other guys have in the preseason, or at least not that I can remember. But it'll be interesting to see what he can do against Mikey Williams, and obviously Caden Shipp heading up against June Johnson. Shipp, he's a scorer. What's he going to do against June Johnson? Relatively unknown. Those will be the interesting ones. And I actually did forget about Mullins. I think Mullins is going to be a solid player for Best Coast, but again, just top to bottom. Whether it's us talking about Trey Hyman, Royce Anderson, Xavier Pope, or Lawrence Shields and Blake Gillenwater. It's just from top to bottom. I mean, it's Bay Area's set. Coach Dre Pope did a great job putting the team together. Coach Aaron Murray, he was all right last season, I guess. He had Lacerius Outlaw. They did okay. Not the best. Outlaw kind of disappeared at the end of the season. How much of that was coaching? How much of that was his attitude or the injury? But it should be. I want to say it should be an okay game, but I think Bay Area's size is going to really blow them out.
Well, I'll throw this out here to kind of conclude our Cali talk, which is that I think that if Best Coast has a chance, and I do think they have a real chance, and I do actually expect it's going to be an entertaining game. You're right to harp on the height the Bay Area has. Best Coast advantage is athleticism. Outside of H-Town versus Best Coast might be our, just pure athletic horsepower. People going against each other may be the peak of it. Best Coast will have an athleticism advantage over Bay Area, the way they will with most teams. I mean, just top to bottom, almost every kid on that lineup is a pure athlete. So watch for that as well. Should be exciting. Now, of course, these aren't the only matchups that we have coming up for you on Wednesday. And after Wednesday, remember, too, the games just start. Go check out the SimWorld schedule to see when your teams and matchups are playing. But outside of these two featured games, we also have, 4 other matchups going on opening night? These ones are not going to be broadcast live, but you can see live feeds of them. First one, we got a Southeastern battle. ATLiens versus Queen City Kings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and this is one of those games where one of my favorite coaches, Coach Darius Simmons.
You love Coach Simmons, I know.
Leading Queen City Kings. They have some really solid players on their end. On ATLiens side, I can never say it right. Whatever. ATLiens. Yeah. They have some okay talent. The hard part is they were the second worst team in SimWorld Hoops last season during the Ground Zero season.
They were pretty bad.
They had 4 wins. They went through multiple coaching changes, just like every single Texas team for some reason. Nobody wants to be there, I guess. But when looking at it on paper, I mean, Queen City Kings, they have Braxton Schuyler returning. They have Sky Durant, who in his preseason games absolutely took over and looked unstoppable. Norvell Dejon Jones was one of the most, in my opinion, complete point guards in all of SimWorld Hoops. I believe it was Norvell Dejon Jones who I think he set the assist record last season. And I think he'll be one that potentially can hit a triple double.
Yeah.
I think he's one. He's got some struggles because he is 6'1". And obviously we talked about some of the monster height that some of these teams do have, but I mean, he's got the heart. So yeah, on that side, on the Queen City Kings side, I just think overall talent wise, I think they're just going to completely overpower ATLiens. I mean, Aliens got Mudo, Jammin Moore, Jackson Glenn, but some guys, they're all returning from last season on a team that just did not do much. I think the leader of this team is likely going to be Isaiah Rose, and he's going to need to be the leader of the team. At 6'8", 203, he's going to start for power forward for them, and I think he's going to need to be the key in this team's for this team to be able to move forward. Malachi Booth, we'll see. He had himself a little journey this offseason, so we'll see what he can do.
I like it. Well, that is a 7:00 Eastern tip-off. The other game, which is not on SimWorld TV, tipping off at 7:00, Beasts of the East versus Gotham 5.
Can I just say, I don't want to cut you off. I can't believe that we're not going to see this game.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised it didn't make the cut too, but the national TV schedule is what it is. But these two teams feel like they've been on a collision course to kind of, rule at least the, what would you call that? The Acela corridor where Amtrak runs between DC and Boston, basically. I'm in this game. I don't even have a prediction.
Really?
I'm just excited to see it full out. You want to see Beasts. That's going to be fun. Gotham 5. I'll say this much. I'm interested to see what G5 is going to roll out there for a starting lineup. They have a lot of different options. There's some guys who, some of the sports media have been really high on for Gotham 5. Keontae Deore, for instance. Had a nice year last year. Coming back this year, is he going to start? I don't know. Raheem Dandridge, clearly the best player to come back from Gotham 5 that was a New York Star last year, but I don't know how many minutes and how, if he's going to start or not either. You got, the Matthewses and the Williams, and I think, they're going to eat up a lot of minutes. Mbako has to play, and I'm not sure that Aaron Lovejoy isn't the best recruit to come in this season, top to bottom for Gotham 5. And I haven't even mentioned a certain Keon Anthony, who will be coming off the bench as a 15-year-old for Gotham 5 this year. Obviously I want to see Wagner play on the other side there, but G5 I think is going to be good, but to me there's still a little bit of a black box for exactly how this team is going to look and play this year. I think a lot of people are going to be interested to see what kind of rotations, who the starting five is, and what Coach Tim Bellardi does with G5 this year, and we're going to start to learn on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and I think Gotham 5 is probably the only team that, on paper, like if you take all of the teams in SimWorld Hoops, I think it's clear-cut Gotham 5 and Bay Area. I don't know why I can't say them together. Gotham 5 and Bay Area Breakers are, on paper, the two by far most talented teams from top to bottom. It's just... You got two sets of starters. Like, you could literally take all of Gotham 5's backups and all of Bay Area Breakers backups and probably still spot a top 10 team with each of those. So it's going to be real interesting to see if Beast of the East can do anything. I'm excited to see Fareed Redmond, Torin Traeg over there. But outside of them, I know Eric Busk. Did he? No,
he struggled last year, Bob.
He struggled last year. He had some moments here and there.
He has skills. He can play. He just couldn't score last year at all. He couldn't shoot.
And I don't personally like his attitude. He's had an attitude during the during the offseason. Even near the end of last season, he had a little bit of an attitude, not really feeling him. But Gotham 5, I think with Coach Ballerz, I wouldn't be surprised. They're going to win this game. So I'll say that. I won't be surprised to see them lose an early game, though, with him testing things out. Because of how much talent there is, how do you figure out how to put all of them on the court? I think Dior is going to surprise a lot of people, because there was one particular pickup game where he was unstoppable making it to the rim. If he can continue to be aggressive, he's going to take some minutes away from some of those stars. I'm real excited to see Mackenzie, though. Mackenzie Mbako.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, we got two more games still.
There are two other games happening on opening night at 8 o'clock Eastern. We move things to the Midwest. Lakeshore Drive versus Beyond the Arch, a Chicago St. Louis battle going on there. And in this one, I'm really most interested to see a rebuilt Lakeshore Drive. Lots of changes in the Windy City this year. And, one mainstay, Drake Harvell, still there. And, I think he's going to have a great year. Some talent has come in around him. I think Lakeshore Drive is going to be, above average all year. Beyond the Arch, they're former St. Louis stars are going to look to see what life looks like after Glory Tate. Glory Tate was their star last season. He has moved on to the University of Kentucky. And I think life's going to be tough, Bob, without Glory around.
Typically I would agree, and I'm still going to agree, but when you replace Glory Tate with Tyson Simpson, if Coach Kusa can figure out how to get the most out of Simpson, then I don't think they're not going to really hurt as much as we might think. But at the same time, I think David Duffy and Tyson Simpson are going to have a great connection this season.
Yeah. Duffy is a very good point guard, by the way. He's going to be fine. He's going to be great. And Christian Kelly, who I dubbed Baby Rodman last year when he was having 14, 15, 18 rebound games at all of 6'5". He's grown, and that's scary to think about.
Just overall, I think this is going to be a close matchup with Coach Kusa and Coach Lovelace going at it. I don't really think I have a prediction right now, but again, there's some players on each side, like Kiri Holtzclaw, Norman Nations, Blake Money's been all right in the offseason, so there's just a lot of guys. Angelo Roman and Zagor are probably going to be the two that I really want to see the most out of for Lakeshore, and I'll be interested to see how Daniel Horry and Anthony Simmons coming off the bench for Beyond the Arc works out.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting too. Well, and then our final game of the night, 9 o'clock Eastern for this one, we have Cascadia, who are the returning SimWorld champions, going up against SimWorld Europe. SimWorld Europe anchored, in some ways literally, by big man Henrik Vekic, who just looks like, in the brief glimpses we've gotten of Vekic in the offseason, it looks like he is just all world. He was a good player last year who is coming back on a whole new level this season. And Cascadia, again, a team that is really looking different, really reloaded from last year's Cody Johnson and DJ Childs led squad, but looking to kind of rebuild and retool there. I'm kind of liking SimWorld Europe in this one. I'm just such a big Henrik Vekic fan. They have a few other nice pieces too. Carlos Buffini, also another returner coming back. I like some of the new additions on the squad as well. I think that they are going to be what we expected Europe to be last year. Last year in SimWorld, everybody thought Europe was going to be the top global international squad out there. And instead they struggled and Africa rose to the top. Europe's just a year behind schedule. There was a player called Marcello Nocioni who we all thought was going to drive Europe to glory last year. Didn't happen, but put it on big man Henrik Vekic's shoulders, and I think SimWorld Europe gets it done, and it starts on Wednesday night.
I don't know if I have faith in Coach Kostov at this point with what he did with the talent that he had last season. When we had the separate rankings, they had to start the season 5 of the top 10 international players on their team. They finished with just one, which Nocioni was that one. I don't know if I trust them. They do have some good shooters. They brought in some good shooters. Kenneth Klum, I'm really excited to see what he can do in an actual game. France Lustig, Leonidas Papadopoulos. I just love that name. He automatically going to the all name team right there. But yeah, I don't know if I trust Coach Kostov. Coach Isaiah Pope, I think that he's been working, put a solid little team together. Again, they lost two of the best. Was it two top? I mean, Cody Johnson was top 5. DJ Child's top 10 player. How do you,
if not top 5?
The difficult thing was like our top 10 last season. It was extremely difficult to really, outside of Cooper Kinsey Cross and Jamison Johnson, it was really difficult to say, oh yeah, this guy is number 3, because it was like, I just felt like the top 10, everybody could make an argument for number 1. But how do you replace that? So they brought in Jason Tada.
They brought in Jason Tada. I love that move, and I also love bringing in Montel Cage to run the point. I love him as a point guard. I really like what Coach Isaiah Pope did, bringing those two, effectively transfers in, right? And he put together a solid recruiting class too. Look, I'm not down on Cascadia. I'm not down on Jetson Holiday, Arthur Lattimore, Dan Levin. But to talk about those last two, Lattimore and Levin, I just think, those are the two bodies you're going to have to throw at Henrik Vekic most of the time, I suspect. That's what Cascadia's going to do. And hey, you're getting thrown in, what metaphor do you want to use? You're getting thrown into the fire, you're getting thrown into the deep end of the pool, you're getting thrown. I'll tell you that.
And that's the thing, like when we look at who's going to replace Vekic and whenever he needs to take a little break, Christian Fazenkis, I mean, he's 7 foot 240. He's a monster. Going up against a 6'9" Dan Levin or a 6'9" Arthur Lattimore, it's going to be a difficult matchup down low for Cascadia. I just think other aspects of the game may be where they shine a little bit more. I think it's going to be a close game. I just think that overall, I feel like they're pretty equal with talent, regardless of what player rankings may or may not say. I do think talent-wise, they're fairly equal. I'm really excited to see Jetson Holiday in a game. And I think Eric Banks was a sneaky good pickup for Cascadia. So we'll see.
Oh, and Chris Owens too, by the way, we didn't talk about. No, there's a lot of players on this Cascadia team, but I think your bottom line conclusion is right to expect a close game in a game that will close out our opening night slate on Wednesday the 1st. Remember that, Wednesday, March 1st. And I guess that's also bringing us toward the end of our show here for the weekend, Bob.
Yeah, do you have any final words for the people?
Final words for the people. I'll leave the folks with this because we did our Super Bowl closeout show, or we had some final comments on the results of the Super Bowl. You know what we didn't talk about that's kind of been haunting me since we recorded that show, Bob? We didn't talk about how terrible Rihanna was in the halftime performance, and we should have spent at least a minute or two talking about that. And maybe it's just my opinion, but I do actually think that was one of the worst halftime shows. And I say this as somebody who, I like Rihanna. I like her, her music generally. I like her as an artist. But I will say this. You may remember me talking on a previous episode of Around the Table, praising, I've mentioned Beyonce as a halftime show performer, but really Katy Perry. And I'm not even saying I like Katy Perry all that much. I don't like Katy Perry as much as I like Rihanna in terms of recorded music. But compare those halftime shows. Katy Perry was bringing it was Deadpool time, maximum effort, like she was going to croak on that field if she didn't entertain every last person watching. Rihanna, but I kind of blame the NFL for it. You ordered up some Rihanna and you got Rihanna. She was 100% on brand. She was 100% doing what she does, but Rihanna's not there to entertain you. Rihanna's there to kind of do her own thing. And yeah, I'll leave it on that. I was as happy as I was. The Eagles getting beat in the Super Bowl in a competitive game. That's about as good as I could have asked for the overall matchup. I was super disappointed in the halftime show, and I'll leave it with that. Do you have a random thought for the people to close the show out, Bob?
I don't. I'll be honest. I don't actually watch halftime shows. I don't watch them. I watch the Dre, Eminem, Snoop, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar, Mary J. Blige halftime show. But before that, man, I don't think I can tell you when the last time I had watched one was. Honestly, okay. I don't know. It's not entertaining for me. But for me, any random, I don't know. Just everybody get excited. We got 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days the season starts.
Yeah.
Everything starts going in full force. So be ready and be prepared. So
Yeah, that's right. That's probably the best reminder to give folk, Bob. I love it.
there we go. So everybody, I hope you guys have a good rest of your. Well, first off, Eric, thank you for being on this as always with me.
Oh, I'm always happy to be here.
And everybody, have a good rest of your weekend.
Later, folks. Get ready for Wednesday.